So before we end on this, finish up with this question, I want to talk a little bit about a newer perspective on depression that we discussed in an earlier show. We talked about it in the gut-brain axis program. And this is known as the inflammatory cytokine model of depression. And the theory essentially is that inflammation, which often originates from the gut, produces inflammatory cytokines, and these cytokines travel through the blood, they cross the blood-brain barrier, and then they suppress activity in the frontal cortex, and then that, of course, causes depression, the frontal cortex being responsible for some of the higher brain functions. So one of the most important things you can do if you're dealing with depression, if you haven't already done this, is eat an anti-inflammatory diet and fix your gut. So anti-inflammatory diet being a paleo-ish diet, a personal paleo code-ish type of diet, and then all of the steps that we've discussed lots of different times toward healing your gut. And I think that those are kind of the first steps that should be done when somebody's dealing with depression. And then if you eat that diet and you fix the gut and deal with any other potential sources of inflammation, like a chronic infection, for example, a viral infection or a bacterial infection that may not be in the gut but outside of the gut. So if you deal with all of those sources of inflammation and you're still experiencing depression, that's when I would turn to some of these other natural remedies.
So when you start fixing the gut, it's not necessarily advisable to look towards trying to replace any neurotransmitter losses in the dopamine or serotonin areas?
That's kind of the last step, maybe.
Okay.
It's like fix the gut, reduce inflammation, any other sources of inflammation, then consider some of these other natural treatments that we just talked about that would indirectly regulate brain chemistry. Psychotherapy, acupuncture, St. John's wort, light therapy, exercise, possibly 5-HTP. And then there are some products that I might use that improve serotonin or dopamine or acetylcholine or GABA synthesis and metabolism. But even then, they're not, they're a milder, safer, and more natural approach than SSRIs or SNRIs. I consider those drugs to be a last resort.
All right.